Most people think they know the story of July 4th. But what if I told you that America's independence wasn't declared on the 4th of July at all? That the Founding Fathers were actually terrified of what came next? And that one simple phrase in the Declaration changed the entire course of human history? Stay with me, because the real story of Independence Day is far stranger and far more powerful than you've ever heard.
Mr. Rony Stark here, and today we're diving deep into 5 mind-bending facts about America's Independence Day that will make you see July 4th in an entirely new light. These aren't the sanitized history lessons you learned in school. These are the raw, emotional, and sometimes shocking truths behind a holiday that changed the world.
Fact number 1 might sound like a technicality, but it completely reframes how we understand Independence Day. The Declaration of Independence was actually adopted and approved by Congress on July 2nd, 1776, not the 4th, July 2nd. Yet somehow we celebrate on the 4th. Why? Because that's the day the document was officially printed and distributed to the public, the day ordinary Americans actually learned they were free.
Think about that for a moment. The real independence happened 2 days earlier in a secret chamber with only 56 men in the room. But the 4th of July? That was the day freedom became real for everyone else. That's why we celebrate that, because freedom isn't just a legal document. It's the moment your people finally know they're free.
Here's something that hits different when you really think about it. 56 men signed the Declaration of Independence. 56. And here's the gut-wrenching reality. Most of them paid an absolutely brutal price for that signature. 5 were captured and tortured by British forces. 12 had their homes burned down, their families displaced. 9 died in the Revolutionary War.
One signer, Thomas McKean, had to constantly flee for his life, watching his property destroyed, his family scattered. These weren't politicians making a safe play. These were ordinary men, farmers, merchants, lawyers, who knew that signing their names meant they were signing their own death warrant. They did it anyway. Think about what that means. They literally chose freedom over safety, over family security, over their own lives. That's not politics. That's sacrifice.
Now, fact 3. The Declaration of Independence contains one phrase, just one phrase, that changed the world forever. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those 41 words became the philosophical foundation for revolutions in France, Latin America, and eventually democracy movements across the entire globe. But here's what makes it even more powerful. Those words were considered radical.
Dangerous. The idea that all people had inherent rights that no government could take away, that was revolutionary. That was unthinkable to most of the world's power structures. Kings, emperors, and dictators had ruled for thousands of years based on the idea that authority came from divine right, that some people were born to rule and others to obey. The Declaration flipped that completely upside down. It said no. Every human being has rights that are self-evident, natural, and permanent. That single philosophical shift rippled through centuries and countless nations. It's still rippling today.
Fact 4 is uncomfortable, but it's essential. This is where the story gets complicated, and honestly more human. Many of the signers of the Declaration, men who wrote all men are created equal with their own hands, owned slaves. Thomas Jefferson, the primary author of the Declaration, multiple signers. This isn't meant to diminish what they did. The philosophical and political courage was real, but it exposes a devastating contradiction at the heart of early America. They understood liberty as a concept. They were willing to die for it, but they didn't apply it universally. It took another 89 years, a civil war, and countless deaths before America finally started living up to the words in that declaration. The 4th of July, then, isn't just a celebration of freedom won. It's a reminder that the fight for genuine, universal freedom is ongoing. It's a wound America is still healing from. Fact 5 is a strange piece of history that almost changed everything. John Adams, one of the primary architects of independence, actually believed July 2nd
The date Congress voted for independence should be the date we celebrate. He wrote in a letter that July 2nd would be the most memorable epoch in the history of America. He genuinely thought that date would be remembered forever as Independence Day. But it didn't happen that way. Because the Declaration wasn't publicly announced until July 4th, the American people associated freedom with that date instead.
Adams was so frustrated by this that years later, as an elderly man, he expressed regret that the nation had chosen the wrong date. He died on July 4th, 1826, exactly 50 years after the Declaration. His final day on Earth was the very day America celebrates independence, even though he'd spent decades wishing it was a different date. There's something almost poetic about that. History doesn't always unfold the way the people living it expect, and sometimes the date we choose to remember becomes more important than the date that technically happened.
So here's what strikes me about all of this. The 4th of July isn't just about fireworks or a day off work. It's about the moment when ordinary people decided that freedom was worth everything, that liberty wasn't negotiable, that the words "all men are created equal" were worth dying for. Even if America didn't live up to those words for centuries, even if the journey to genuine freedom for everyone is still unfinished. The holiday reminds us that we're all part of that ongoing story. We're all inheritors of that sacrifice. And maybe, just maybe, we're all responsible for finishing what those 56 men started.
If you found these forgotten truths about Independence Day interesting, please hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into history that actually matter, and let me know in the comments what fact surprised you the most. Thank you for watching, please subscribe, and happy 4th of July.